My friends, when I was a kid, I used to play with sticks all the time. You know, we used to use them for guns, we'd use them for walking sticks, if we found something that looked like a little figure of a human, we'd even use those, like little pretend dolls while we were on the playground. But I'm a child of the late 80s and 90s. I know a lot of you, like, you hear that and you're like, oh, well, you're just a young pup, so to speak. But, back in the day, sticks was my thing. I never grew out of that thing about finding a really cool stick, being impressed with it, and trying to use it. So even today when I go out in the woods and I'm doing a little bit of woods management and I see, trees are growing really, really close together, a sapling from a really big one, and it's, walking stick height, and of course thickness, I'll go ahead and cut that down. And I bring them home and I prepare them and I give them away to my family, my friends and scouts, young kids that I see at a park or something. If I'm walking with a hiking stick, I can just give them the walking stick. It's just a nice little thing I like to do. And overall, it's free besides the time that I spend on it. I got a collection of walking sticks. I got more than what I'm going to show you today. In fact, so many that my wife is telling me I need to stop collecting walking sticks. All right, but if I see a good one, I just can't pass it up. One of my first walking sticks that I ever cut that it really got me in the bug again as an adult was this one here. And it dried out pretty straight, like it's got a little bit of a bow to it, but it doesn't bother me so much. It's really lightweight, and it's got this beautiful red color on it. And I wish I would have paid more attention to what tree or type of tree it was when I cut it, because I've never been able to find another one that's similar to that. And I just really like it. And like I said, it's super light. Other walking sticks I have, even the same length, same girth and everything, it is there tends to be a little bit heavier than this, but this is easily my go-to walking stick. Now, I also have this walking stick. This walking stick was passed down to me from my grandfather, and whenever he'd finish a walking stick, he'd always wood burn or carve the date. So this one was finished on November 22nd, 1984. Now, as you can see, it's got like the vine that wrapped around of it, so it probably had some honeysuckle that wrapped around this poor little tree. And it's got a really deep bark here. My grandpa decided to keep that for the grip. He probably smoothed it out a little bit with some sandpaper or something to take off the really, really rough edges. But overall, he debarked it, and I like it. It's lower. It's actually a little too low for me. It's a little too short for me, but it means a lot to me. Now, this past winter, this was a project of mine because doing early 20th century camping, and depending on what kind of impression you're trying to do, then maybe a gentleman's walking stick is what you want to go for. And honestly, when I go to lodge, during my lodge nights, I like to dress up. So having a walking stick that I can walk to lodge with and just be a little bit classier helps me stand out. It builds up my confidence a little bit and brings me back to some of my ancestors, the 20th century. This one has a little rubber foot, and this can actually be replaced with a spike. So oftentimes, especially the middle class, the well-to-do, who would go hiking on the trails and everything, they wouldn't necessarily have a very rustic walking stick. They might have something a little bit defined, something that says something about them. And I've been to other historic sites. In fact, I've even been to a plantation in West Virginia, and it is so cool because they've pretty much kept everything from previous generations that built that house. It's amazing, but they have a collection of walking sticks, and some of them actually have the deer antler handle. Now, I didn't get the idea from them. I was actually at an antique store, and I saw a walking stick and it had a deer antler handle. I was like, oh man, that's pretty cool. I almost bought it, because then I wouldn't have to make one, but I was like, man, I think it'd be really cool to actually make one. And I found a deer antler handle that fits my palm. I cut it and ground it and everything. So this is my walking stick, and I got another one that's in the make. But anyhow, I'm kind of rambling on here. The point of today, though, is to discuss the finer points of walking sticks, so you can get in the mindset of making your own and what to look for, and maybe how to make some decisions about it. Because some people's like, it's a stick, whatever, it works. You're out in the woods, and ultimately, sure, that's perfectly fine. But if you're trying to think about the nuances of a walking stick, especially if you're something that you're going to hold on to, you're going to put a lot of time into and things like that, and it's just a really cool project, then here are some things to consider, okay? Now, if you saw this and paid attention to it, you can see it's about shoulder height. I like my walking sticks to be about shoulder height or maybe nose level. There's a lot of benefits to that. First of all, because if you are going down a ravine or something like that, this is going to be your third leg, right? You're going to be able to put this down and steady yourself as you get off of a rock or go down a hill or something like that. If you have something that's too short, it's not going to be very functional for that. That's one of the reasons why, overall I like this for prepared trails. If I'm actually going out into the woods and there's not a lot of true prepared trails, I like to take a real walking stick like this, okay? Most people tend to like them like they're trekking poles, and that's just a little bit higher than the elbow. So if you bend your elbow and you measure your down, either with a stick or something like that, and you can kind of just take a marker and you can mark it, that'll give you a rough idea. Now, the old scouts back in the early 20th century, your walking stick used to be part of your uniform. And oftentimes they would suggest for it to be as tall as the scout themselves. Now remember, these are kids, okay? But there's actually something to be said about having a walking stick that's as tall as you are. And I actually have several walking sticks that are as tall as I am, 6'1". Because if you're going to build something, if you need to reach for something, if you need to test the water depth, something like that, then you want to have something taller instead of something shorter. Now, my project today is actually this right here. Man, 2-3 years ago, there's been this sycamore sapling that keeps trying to grow right next to where my garage is. And the first year, I cut it down. The second year, I think I cut it down then again. But they just keep sprouting up from the root system. I was like, all right, well, if you're going to be that determined and you keep coming up, well, then I'll just let you grow for a season or however long it takes, and I'll cut you down when you're about walking stick height. So basically, I have my own walking stick farm right next to where my garage is. And there's other different saplings that pop up around my property. So I'll prune them. So throughout the summer months and everything, I'll actually prune them to try to get them to grow straight instead of sprawling out. And when they're ready, I'll cut them off. And I have myself another walking stick to prepare and give away, ease up my time, make a project, all right? So this is going to be a thumbstick. Now, Robert Baden-Powell, Sir Robert Baden-Powell, the founder of the Boy Scouts over in England, he preferred to have a thumbstick. And I know over in England, thumbsticks are a pretty popular thing. Here in the United States, not so much. But, as an ode to Sir Robert Baden-Powell and the earlier Scouts, I thought it'd be pretty cool to find and make a thumbstick. Now, the whole trick with a thumbstick is you got to find a tree that has a split. Now, I got another sapling that's growing next to my house, and it's a black walnut. And it's actually got a better V than even this one is. But this one's not too bad. It's almost dead center, right? So this, I think this will do well, especially if I use it like this, okay? We are going to discuss and figure out, well, what is going to be the height I'm going to choose for my thumbstick. And I'm going to walk you through my thought process, okay? Now, I don't only just go hiking. I also go hunting, squirrel hunting, deer hunting, things like that. And when you're tracking in the woods and you got your rifle, your shotgun or something over your shoulder and you're carrying it out to wherever you're going to hunt, sometimes it's nice to have a monopod to steady it, especially if you have a heavier firearm. Because if you have a heavier firearm, you got that wiggle. And squirrels are daggone fast, and I love squirrel hunting. So I'm thinking it'd be kind of nice to have a thumbstick that is just the right size to take out with me when I go squirrel hunting, and I can use it as a monopod. Now, there's a couple things I could do. I could make it really short, so if I'm sitting, then I can sit, use the monopod, hold it up there, fire, bam, done, right? But oftentimes, when I'm squirrel hunting, I like to go stalking. So having a really short thumbstick isn't very practical unless I kneel on the ground, unless I find a stump or something like that, all right? Now, of course, you can use an angle. I could always swing this out in front of me and I can lower it like so, right? But if you're sitting, you can only lower it so much before it really becomes fairly impractical, right? So about here is roughly where the firearm is going to be. So if I take my other stick here and I bring it up like this, then I can adjust it. Raise, lower, and I can steady my firearm. That way I can fire and hit, hopefully, something, you know? So, do I want to do that, or do I want to shorten it so that the thumb actually kind of rests in it? So it would have to be fairly low, right about here-ish at the top of the prongs, because I'm certainly not going to leave these really big prongs. You know, that's a little too much. So I'm thinking I'm going to leave about 4 inches of the prongs here and go from there. All right, decisions. Decisions. Now, if I do leave it about this height, look at this thing here. I gotta trim this up because this is right down where the roots are. That's pretty daggone thick. That's also gonna make it really heavy. So I definitely have to thin this out to make it a little bit better of a, better of a swing. Because, you know, if you're walking, that's actually working against you. It's gonna exhaust your arm. I've had walking sticks that are curved. I was like, man, you know, having that gnarl at the top. I got a couple of those. I was like, that's pretty sweet. I'm going to put that right up top so that the weight's up here. It's not down there, right? So then it's easier to swing just because of the counterbalance, right? You want to think about the balance of your walking stick. You may not think about that, but you really want to think about the counterbalance of your walking stick because you don't want it to exhaust you. That's one problem that I actually have about this one. Now, this is my very first cane or walking cane I ever made. I like the design. I purposely did this. I measured it out so I could even use it as a measuring device. I was trying to walk through it. But these little knurls here actually throw off the balance a lot versus just having a straight stick. So if I would have had just a straight stick and maybe I marked it or I carved something here instead of having these weights on it, it would swing out better. It looks cool, but honestly, I have to exert myself. I have to purposely swing this out there. The weight should be up here, not down here. So the stick is working against me. That, I hope, is one of the takeaways that you get from this video, is thinking about the weight balance and how it swings. So if I were to keep this as such at this height, which is, you know, almost shoulder height. It's where I pretty much like it, or where my eyes are, so I can even use it to sight. Really easy. So the height overall, I think I'm actually pleased with. I don't think I want to cut off much more of the bottom, but we are going to have to trim this out because of the weight. It's going to work against us. So that is going to be interesting. We've probably got to take off almost probably 3/4 of an inch total diameter when we get down to this point compared to this point. Now, we also have to figure out, are we going to take the bark off or are we not? I never took the bark off of this one. It's really nice and smooth as is, and I just think it looks really good. Now, you do have to be careful about some wood species because bark can actually cause, you know, rot. Some bark, especially depending on when you cut it, they'll just slip or peel off anyways. Saplings don't have a problem with that as much as like more mature trees. So it just kind of depends on the variety of tree that you're working with. This particular one, I know from other examples that I've had and cut, you know, from previous years, that I could leave the bark on and it would actually be perfectly fine. But then I run into another problem. See here? This is where I did some pruning and the bark peeled off. So it doesn't look very pretty, right? It doesn't look very nice. Same thing with here. These are scars that I cut off during the pruning process, and it just doesn't look good. And those rough areas, that's not good on the hands. So I'm thinking for this particular one, especially since I have to trim off so much of this, I think I am going to go ahead and take the bark off of it. All right, so let's go through that process, and then just has to wait for the process of it drying out, and you come back the next season and see how it does. It shouldn't take a full year. It should probably, depending on your environment, right, and the humidity and things like that. I like to cure my walking sticks in my house. I have so many that I do have out in my garage. The ones that tend to cure the best are in my house, though, because they cure slower and they're not as open to the natural humidity that's outdoors. So it just depends, again, on what you can do, your space, what you have available. But I think I'm going to cure this indoors. And I may, once I get this all peeled out and carved down to where I want, I may actually strap this to a couple 2x4s to make sure it stays straight and it doesn't, as it dry out, bow out. Okay, so there we go. That is my walking stick video. I hope you found some tidbits of information. Just in review, think about the height of it. If you're going to actually use it outdoors for hiking and uneven surfaces and stuff, you may want to get a cap with a point on it. That way it can bite into the ground, or maybe carve a point into it. Go to your hardware store. You can always get those copper caps and you can fit those on the bottom. I purchased this one from Lee Valley Tools. It's really nice, right? It's made of nice thick gauge brass. I really liked it. It was really easy to install. So think about the height. Where do you want it? You want it to at least be at your elbow, but pretty much everybody agrees that it should be just a little bit higher than that. That way, you know, you can gain purchase as you swing it forward and you go down, okay? Now, I like it shoulder height, and I also like it my height, depending on what it is. If you're going to use a thumbstick, think about that monopod. Are you going to use it for the purpose of using it to gain purchase with your thumb? You know, because that is a common thing over in England for the thumbstick, is you're actually using this to gain purchase instead of like a handle like that, or even just using the handle of your walking stick, because your thumb gives you some security, right? And you can also use this to, you know, make camp gadgets. Of course, you can use it to cook over your fire, but then you risk burning it, so I wouldn't do that. But anyhow, think about the height of the shoulder, height of your head, height of you know, the practice of what you're going to use it for. And then think about the bark. That's something that's a personal taste, and I've seen some really cool walking sticks that have the bark completely on. I've seen some really cool walking sticks that have the bark off. Some people do like the burn. They'll throw it on a fire, or they'll throw a torch, and that'll harden the wood as well, which is a really nice thing, especially you're trying to make sure that it's not going to get beat up too bad. And then you just lightly sand it and it looks really good. All right. If you like the video, please click like. We appreciate it. It helps other people find the video. If you've got a favorite walking stick, I'd love to see it over on the Camp Crafters Guild, which you can join for free at www.honorableoutfitters.com/join the guild. You can check it out and join us. We talk about anything that's outdoor related. It doesn't matter what it is, whether it be historic camping or modern camping. We'd love to see you on there. And I do have some Preston mess kits still available. We're ordering 500. I have less than 100 currently that are available. So if you want one, you got to get in on it. I don't know how long that's going to last. And to be honest, it's at this stage, it may be unlikely that we're going to make a second run. It just depends on the popularity, and maybe after it's done, we've got a wait list and people are like seeing it in person, getting positive reviews. But I just don't know. I'm not guaranteeing there's going to be a second run. So if you want in on it, then please check out the link below. Get on the wait list. I'll email you the payment site, and you're good to go. Now, if you would like to see the video about the Preston mess kit to educate yourself, then check it out here. If you would like to see the playlist of all my camp crafting videos, then check it out here. I hope you guys have a wonderful week. Give a kiss note to your loved ones, and I'll see you next time. P.S. I'll show you what this looks like once I'm done.